The Speech-Language Pathology Practice Committee meeting. I'm Holly Kaiser. I'm chair of this committee, and I'd like to do roll call, please. Gilda Dominguez, speech-language pathologist. Please call here. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Let me try, I'd like to call Debbie Snell, public member, please.
Here.
Okay. Gilda Dominguez, speech-language pathologist.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I would like to start with public comment for items not on the agenda. So can you please open it up to anybody that is calling in?
Thank you. Thank you, Committee Chair. This is the moderator, and I have opened up the question and answer panel. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type. I would like to make a comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions for your reference, and we'll give you a moment.
Holly, this is Paul. While we're waiting, I believe a legal counsel just had a statement to make about committee meetings.
Yeah, good afternoon, Paul. This is Michael Knoetz, your legal counsel. I did want to just chime in with a friendly reminder that during the committee meetings, that only the committee members should participate. It's a little interesting in this format, but the other board members should not participate in those discussions. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right, this is the moderator, and I see no request for public comment at this time. Madam Chair, shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we are going to be discussing the attachments that are in the section of our binder under SLP 3, and just a little bit of background. In November 2015, the board approved revisions to the, I'm sorry, let me give a title of what we're talking about first. I apologize, 1 second. Excuse me. We're going to be discussing and possibly taking action regarding the continuing professional development requirements for speech-language pathologists. This actually does not include speech-language pathology assistants, although it said that on the agenda. But this is as stated in Title 16, CCR sections 1399.160 through 1399.160.13, and Title 16, CCR section 1399.170.14. So a little bit of background now. November 2015, the board approved revisions to continuing professional development, also called CPD, to allow up to half out of the required number, and which would mean 12 out of 24, to be accrued through self-study. In May 2016, additional changes were approved, and we had the final board approved revisions, and we have those in our binder. Since that time, there had been considerable advancements in online self-study and online interactive or live CE opportunities. And this issue has become more pronounced during COVID-19 pandemic, where the CPD requirements have been temporarily waived through DCA waivers, but not the limitation on self-study. And in our last meeting, August 2021, our committee discussed additional revisions that were to update the definitions for self-study versus in-person, live, virtual, continuing professional development, and to potentially look at increasing the amount of self-study allowed. There was public comment to consider decreasing restrictions. So at this time, I'd like to review these proposed revisions in light of the consumer protection. Any questions from my committee at this point or comments?
No comments.
Okay. All right. So I refer you to page 1. If you look at under definitions, the revision under 1399.160 letter B, asynchronous continuing professional development means a form of systematic learning where course instruction and licensee participation in the course do not occur simultaneously. And so this is providing us with a new term that we can use consistently to describe any course that's under that category, where the learning is taking place at a different time than it was originally presented. And then the other revision on this page would be under C, synchronous continuing professional development means any form of systematic learning where the course instruction and licensee participation in the course are occurring simultaneously. So this again would refer to in-person learning and also live virtual learning. And I also noted that on this page under letter E that there seemed to be a typo in that sentence where it says a renewal period means the period that spans from a license's expiration date to the licensee's next expiration date. Those should both be licenses, I believe. So let's talk about these comments first, these revisions first, because we want to make sure we understand and agree on using these terms. So any comment from Debbie or from Gilda?
I think these are clear definitions regarding asynchronous and synchronous, especially based on their previous conversations that we have had at the last board meeting.
Okay,
No,
thanks,
I think
Gilda.
it is. I think it's fine.
Okay, thank you. And any public comment on this?
Before we go to public comment, Holly, I was just going to
Sure.
go ahead and butt in really quick. This is Sharice Burns.
Sure. Thank
Since these are both the speech language pathology and audiology, I wanted to clarify that we didn't make revisions to all of this because it's prepared for the speech language pathology practice committee. So items that dealt solely with the audiology licensees, we did leave those alone for future changes if these are approved and they move forward. So I just wanted to make that clear to the public. Why there wasn't a full-scale change on synchronous and asynchronous for now.
Thank you, Sharice. Okay, let's continue to the next proposed language we want to look at, and that's on page 3. All the yellow highlighted revisions have removed the limitations for self-study. So our discussion should be focused on what we think is the appropriate amount of self-study at this point. And we know that the revisions, the revisions that were made previously, that were made last regarding self-study, are at 50% or 12 out of 24. So considering public comment we've had previously, as we don't have any right now, I'd like to hear your thoughts about this, Gilda and Debbie.
So regarding the 50%, I mean, that does give flexibility to accommodate those who are not able to attend on-site live or virtual live. And again, the virtual learning has definitely evolved to where you're able to obtain a learning experience to further progress in professional growth and clinical skills. So I think there is an evolution that could continue, that had initiated at the start of this pandemic. And so I do think that it gives the opportunity for those who are actually hosting live events to continue to provide that opportunity as well versus minimize that or take that away as too.
So in terms of the current number of 12, do you feel comfortable with keeping it at that level, or do you propose any change?
I think 12 out of the 24
Mm-hmm.
is okay. I did have a question regarding the initial license renewal, where there are 12 CPT hours that are due. Would that also allow for 6 CPD hours to be obtained via asynchronous CPD as well?
We can get clarification. I assume I should probably be using the term 50% because then that would be more clear. But Charisse, do you have a comment about that?
Apologies, I was on mute. Well, it sounds like the conversation is on the old presented, which is the 50%, as where the conversations that it seemed like the committee was going towards was no limitation on the asynchronous or self-study. And so then we could translate whatever the limit is, or if there is a limit, to the initial license period if necessary. But outside of that, we wouldn't translate it if we were proposing no cap or no limit. So I think that's a broader question is what it is a limit necessary for consumer protection? And if so, what should that limit be?
Correct. And so I was wondering, based on Gilda's comment about looking at keeping a limit of 50%. But yes, the way our proposed language is written right now, there's no limit.
Holly, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can Gilda point us to the section that she's referring to on the initial, so that everyone is following along? She was talking about during that first year of initial licensure, what the requirement was.
Gilda?
We're talking about.
I'm actually going off of a document that is completed for renewal.
So I'll clarify that. That's on page 3 of 6. It's 1399.160.3. That reads, a licensee applying to renew their license for the first time shall accrue at least 12 hours of CPD. So I think Gilda's question was, if we are to do 50%, a 50% limitation of self-study, should that also be clarified in this section? Is that correct, Gilda?
Yes, well stated. Thank you.
Okay. So I think to answer your question, Holly and Charisse, you can confirm this. We don't address that anywhere in this language as far as the initial, the first time renewal, I mean, for licensees.
Well, so what I'm understanding is because the language was stricken that said there was a licensee may accrue no more than 4 hours, that where I said 6 of the required hours through self-study, that the way this is written right now is there's no limit. But I thought that the question is, if we essentially went back to the proposed language where we had 50%, which was what Gilda said she was feeling comfortable with that level, then what would happen for the initial licensee? And I guess I was thinking that it would be, again, 50% of whatever required hours would be the self-study limit.
And
Does
yes,
that make sense?
Yeah, that should be whatever, if 50% is the level that the board or the committee believes is the best for consumer protection, so that it'd
Right.
be 50% of whatever's required. So if
Right.
it's only 12 for that initial license, since it's not the full 2 years, so it would be 6.
So at this point, we have no more public comment. So is it best then for our committee to make a recommendation to the board based on this discussion right now? And if it is different from our proposed language right now, which is no limit, I'm just wondering how we do that. We just, is that a problem at all? Or is there something else I need to do?
Hi, Holly, this is
I'm
Paul.
going to defer to Michael on the best way for
Can I just make a
Yeah.
comment? I think it's up to the committee to make a recommendation to the board. Whatever recommendation the committee makes, the board will still have to decide on what direction to go, and we'll also have an opportunity at that point to hear
Okay.
from the public on whatever the proposal is. So I think at
Okay.
this point, and Michael, our legal counsel can chime in, I think what we're looking for is whether the committee wants to make a recommendation one way or another.
Yeah, and this is Michael. And so the way, if the committee wishes to make a recommendation, the way to do that would be to make a motion for whatever the recommendation would be. And if it gets a second, then we take public comment on the motion and vote on the motion.
Okay. Well, I
and this
was leaning towards increasing self-study to 75%, but I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of the picture beyond this situation that we're in with this pandemic, and that there will be more opportunities, which is already starting, for conferences that are hybrid, both virtual and on site. So with some of those changes, I've become more comfortable with the 50%. So in my opinion, I would agree with Gilda for the go back to the previously proposed number of 50%.
I agree. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I agree with that as well. The 50%. I think 75 is just a little too much.
Okay, with that being said, I would like to get a vote of our committee. We are accepting the new terms of synchronous and asynchronous, and we are recommending the continuing professional development hours self-study to be at 50%. And I'd like to hear from Gilda and from Debbie, please. Gilda?
I make a motion to recommend that, if that's the point we're at.
And if I need to second that, I do.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we needed a motion. I'm sorry. So we have a motion and it's been seconded. Gilda, how do you vote?
Oh,
Aye.
let's go ahead and pause for public
Oh,
comment.
sorry, public comment, sorry.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I will open up the Q&A panel. And if any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type. I would like to make a comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. We are displaying instructions for your reference. If you do not see the Q&A panel, you can click on the blue square with a question mark in it. That will open it up and we will give you a moment. All right, this is a moderator. I see no request for public comment at this time. Madam Chair, shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
for procedures, do I need to have the motion? Can we go ahead and vote on the motion now?
You may. Yeah, this is Michael. You may now.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Gilda, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Debbie?
Aye.
It's so moved. Okay. We have concluded the discussion on this agenda item. If there is no other comment, then I would like to close call our meeting closed. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.